Hey everyone, up next on the Second Chance podcast with Jeff Robertson, Eric McHugh. And Eric is going to take us down this technical rabbit hole where we talk about Web3 technology, how it's going to revolutionize e-commerce and some of the other fields. And he's got a really cool dating app that's powered by AI. Now, if you follow along with me, if you worked with me, I geek out on technology. I really enjoy it. He also takes us into just a really cool meditation practice, meditation retreat he went through, things that he does for clarity. Super smart guy. We go kind of technical, but not that bad. Nothing that I don't think anybody can follow along because I try to. He's got to speak to me, and I'm not the most the technical person when it comes to talking tech. I just enjoy the problems that it solves. So let me know what you think on this. He's going to talk about some new technologies that's going to revolutionize e-commerce as a whole, small business as a whole. So I'm excited to hear some feedback on what you all think. Appreciate you following along. Thank you for sharing. Okay, wait to see everyone soon. All right, everyone. Welcome to the Second Chance podcast with Jeff Robertson, where we dive into stories of resilience and reinvention. Today, we're thrilled to have Eric McHugh with us, a true entrepreneur who left the traditional 9 to 5 behind to pursue a life of freedom and innovation. Eric is the president of ShopEx, a Web3 e-commerce platform pushing the boundaries of digital commerce, and the co-founder, chief growth officer of DayDay, the AI-powered matchmaking service redefining how we connect, from building companies from the ground up and gaining insights through a meditation retreat. Eric's journey is one of bold decisions and powerful lessons. Let's hear how he made his second chance count. Welcome to the show, man.
Hey, Jeff, dude, thank you so much for having me. I'm really grateful.
Yeah, I was telling Eric, and for you folks, listen, I geek out, man. I'm a self-taught. I used to take watches apart when I was a little kid. That's what we had back in the day, and I enjoy technology. As I was preparing for this, Web3 is a big deal. Coach business. I teach people how to be successful in e-commerce and all these platforms. I'm just excited to learn more about what you do, but there was a shift. There was a point in time when you were working in a 9 to 5 lifestyle and you made this shift from that lifestyle into entrepreneurship. But your entrepreneurship, what was the turning point that led you to pursue that life of freedom? And what advice are we going to give folks looking for to do the same?
So honestly, I think that was a big timeline shift. So I could have kept going with the 9 to 5 lifestyle. So to give your listeners some background, I was a bankruptcy consultant. So essentially what that is, it's a fancy sounding position where we help move companies' debts around when they're going through the bankruptcy process. And at that time, I was really getting into Bitcoin, and Bitcoin has become my passion. When you find something, it just takes up all your mind space and that's all you're thinking about. So as a consultant, all I was thinking about it was Bitcoin, and Bitcoin promotes a non-rent seeking behavior, aka create value versus extract value. And as a consultant, imagine this: a Fortune 500 company is going through the bankruptcy process. There are tiers of creditors. I mean, there's tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4. Obviously, the normal people like me and you, we'd be in tier 4, meaning we get paid last, often pennies on the dollar. And then there's a bunch of consultants, a bunch of lawyers, a bunch of people in the courts, just in the upper tiers, just billing out massive amounts of billable hours, taking money from like a pool of money that should have been going to the normal people. I felt that wasn't right. So I waited for my bonus. I quit that job. I knew Bitcoin was my passion. I started going to cryptocurrency. So I didn't really have a plan. I'm a big go with the flow guy. I think the universe, I think God has a plan for me. I think the plan is a good plan, and he knows the plan much better than I could ever know. So who am I to question? But so I started going to cryptocurrency meetups in my local area. Met the original ShopEx team at a bar in Long Beach, just chilling, grabbing some drinks, eating some food. We started working on that. While we were working on that, we were solving another problem. Like we were just randomly just ideating on like the whiteboard. And another problem we had was affiliate marketing. That turned out to be another idea. So we launched a secondary company at the same time called called Pollinator Cart Road. That ended up becoming VC funded by one of the best incubators in the world. So an incubator is essentially a startup school where it's like our desk clump is next to another desk clump, which is next to another desk clump. So at a very young age, I was in that environment. So I took advantage. I obviously I met with so many different people in different fields, at different levels, in different departments, in different like types of business. I learned as much as I could from everyone, and that really propelled my career into a new trajectory. So I've been working on ShopEx for a while. I was doing a crypto podcast tour a while back. I thought the host was chill, kind of like you. We kept in touch after the podcast, like with Instagram, and just sent reels and stuff because we had stuff in common. And then this random AI thing on Twitter started following. I'm like, what is this? Like, oh, it's Mark. I'm thinking about starting this Twitter AI matchmaking thing. I'm like, okay, first of all, that's funny. Second, it helps a lot of people. And Lord knows if you're on the dating apps, there's a market need. So I've been building that simultaneously with ShopEx, just kind of jumping around because I have somewhat ADHD. So it helps just have a bunch of different tasks you can do.
Yeah. Dude, that's a lot, right? And here's what you're going to find is our listener right now is like, how did he make those connections? Because there's a lot of coaching business. There's always people looking for capital, and they're looking to how they can do that. And I just got done speaking today, and I talked on relationships and reputation. And like you said, you made those connections and you learned. Was there a key or a moment there that really how did we get into that funding? That's what like a lot of folks are curious. Like, how do I find that venture capital? How do I get my project funded? Is there a secret sauce to that you think, or?
I think so, but it's a little bit woo. So people may not. I mean, you have to have like the normal thing. You have to have a deck. You have to be able to talk. You have to be able to pitch your product and all that stuff. But I truly believe in. I think everything in terms of frequency. So like if you're at a certain emotional state, like let's say you're angry, you're sad, you're loving, you're helpful, you're vibrating at a different frequency, and just like a radio station, when you're trying to like if you're on the radio station, you turn to a specific station, get that station. So when you're angry, you're on the angry station, you attract angry people in your life. But when you're loving, you attract loving people in your life. And when you're trying to help people or help the world, you attract those type of people in your life. So the way most of our funding came into play is we were just a networking event, just being authentic, being ourselves. And that attracted the right investor who helped us build. And an important lesson, I think, and dude, this is actually really important because imagine this, you're like a startup, you haven't been funded for a while, you have to get funding. It's like, no one's been paid in 6 months to a year. Everyone's kind of like short tempered. They need money. So at a certain point, that first check sounds very helpful. And a big mistake a lot of startup founders make, and I made this in the past too, is you accept money from the wrong source just because you're desperate, just because you're living in a mindset of scarcity. And then what does this result in? It results in a cap table, like a big portion of your equity being stuck up with someone who doesn't align with your vision. And in my particular case for this particular company, it resulted in like them saying, okay, you guys do X, Y, and Z. We'll introduce you to our investor network. And then we're like, okay, but X, Y, and Z doesn't exactly apply. It's not what we want to build, but we're like, okay, well, we need the money, so we'll do X, Y, and Z. And it just didn't work out. So when you're trying to find an investor, it's more of a partnership type thing. It's like, I think of it more as like an advisor type thing where it's like even now for our companies, we have some really good advisors like, hey man, what would you do in this situation? Like they tell us what they would do. They give reasonable advice, but in the end, it's up to the startup team to decide what they want to do. It's like kind of like, it's like following your own sword type of thing. It's like your decision, you live with the results, but we're here to help versus saying, hey, you need to do this.
That's, I appreciate that because I think everybody's first inclination is to jump at that first dollar when you're kind of strapped. When you're,
it's easy too.
When you're broke, it's like, your God sent this to me. I'm going. But it's also really good to make sure it's right for you. And I've watched people, and I've done this myself, is where I passed on an opportunity, scared to death. I was like, oh, the ship is sailing. This is only, but then the other one came along. It was not short time after because, like you said, you're vibing different. My opportunities come when I am dialed in, happy, focused, in the right rooms, right people. Those are good. But like you said, I'm with you on the woo side of that. There's a little bit of faith involved in what we're doing, and we're all executing a plan from the universe. And anyone who's listening to this episode, if you go back, you're going to find that a lot of my guests talk about that. They talk about faith, and
that's that's something also really important I want to touch on because of my time at the incubator. So essentially, like when you're in the incubator, like I was younger too. Like I'm young now, but like I was younger then too. Where it's like full grind.
Hey, Eric, tell everybody how old you were then and how old you are now. Because just to give them some perspective on how young you say you are.
I was 25 then, I'm 31 now, but in crypto and startup years and ages. So like at that incubator in that point in time, I was really in straight grind mode where like you're trying to force everything. Like you show up, you're the first one there, you're the last one there. But during that time, I was networking with all the people in different positions. And I've noticed that all the people who are doing the most, well, I think everyone's successful. I think everyone's equal, but like the people who are most like objectively successful, they all had a spiritual practice. They all believed someone in the woo. They all believed in the vibe stuff. And they're actually the people who turned me on to the meditation retreat. And I ignored it for a while, obviously, because, you know, like your advice, like, no, that's dumb. Like, I can't meditate at 2 p.m. That doesn't make any sense. But then eventually I revisit, like, you're right. So, like, I think the thing with the spirituality, too, is I think it gets a bad rap because when someone says spiritual, like, oh, what are you doing? You're playing with crystals in the woods. You're not doing anything. But, like, I think it helps to, like, all the successful business people have like some sort of meditation, they have some sort of spiritual practice, and that puts them in the right mindset to attract the right people, to attract the right opportunities in their life. And at that point, you just have to accept. You have to accept, and you have to take action on when something comes up. It's like you meet the right person, great. You have to do something about it, but the important thing is you attracted the right person in the first place.
It's powerful, and I have friends speak. I speak for a living, and love workshops, but motivational speaking, and I've had some friends that they focus on the 4 F bombs, and it's their speech. I've heard a couple of people do it, but it's basically finance, fitness, family, and then faith. And they're always leaning into those are the 4 keys to success. And they're always, when they put faith up, that's exactly what you said. They're like, yours is good, like playing with crystals in the woods. But they list that component as to their success. And that's whether you believe in the Bible, whatever you want to follow, but just some element of just faith and spirituality and a little bit of gratitude toward that unknown creator that has got us here. It's super powerful in your business. That's neat when you find those discoveries, right? Because you're like, because even now, like I'm like I stop and I'm like, there's a reason why Eric's right here with me, and I think about that, like these connections, and I pay attention to people who come in and out of my life and the roles that we're playing, especially when it's on that personal level, and I've learned to do that through what you're talking about. So, folks, when you're listening, don't discount what Eric's saying. Lean into that. I think you'll find it beneficial.
Oh yeah, no, it's one of the most beneficial things I've done. And to tie it back to more business perspective, it's like you either have a faith-based mindset where you think everything's going to work out and it turns out everything works out, or you have a fear-based mindset, which is basically scarcity. And if you're making your decisions out of fear and scarcity, more often than not, it's going to be the wrong decision. So it pays to have a faith-based mindset. And like, if you're trying to attract the right people, like no one wants to be down there. Just have faith. Everything's going to work out.
Like the stuff you've done, for me, you're cutting edge. It's like the stuff you're working on with ShopEx, and that's some really cool stuff. But that's building a company from the ground up is not an easy feat. Could you walk us through some of the toughest moments you faced during the early days of launching ShopEx and DayDay, and then what that looked like for you?
Yeah, so honestly, a lot for ShopEx, with some of it, and startups in general, I would say the toughest moment is when you run out of money, and then that's when shit really hits the fan because you see who's there long term, you see who's not, and eventually you get through it. But the second you run out, or no, it's not when you run out of money, because once you run out of money, the people who are going to be there long term are already there, so you're already moved into that mindset. But when you're running low, like when you have 2 to 3 months left, and you're just like, oh shit, what needs to happen? That's usually the toughest thing because at that point you're usually scrambling for money, and that's when you can enter the scarcity mindset. But that's where the faith comes in because, like, oh, if everything works out, it works out.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to ask is just how did you manage those moments to keep pushing forward? But it sounds like you just rested on your faith.
Yeah, no, I honestly did. I assumed everything's going to work out, and it did. Like, I'm just like, because it's God or whatever wouldn't give you a challenge that you weren't capable of handling. So that's how I look at it. And you learn a lot too, being like when you learn a lot in those situations as well, which is honestly valuable too. It's like,
yeah, you touched on that. You talked about just spirituality, but then you touched on your retreat, your meditation retreat that helped you gain clarity. Well, can you anything you can share from that just kind of what lessons you took away from that meditation retreat or how that helped you find clarity?
Oh, I'd love to. This is one of my favorite things to talk about, just
Yeah.
because it was so helpful for me that I would love talking about it because it plants seeds in other people's minds. So like the meditation retreat I went on was a 10-day Vipassana meditation retreat in Joshua Tree, California. So what that is, it's 10 full days of just meditation, noble silence. So like no looking at anyone, no talking with anyone, no electronics, no writing. It's just straight meditation. And so it's the method that the Buddha used to reach enlightenment. And so what you do is you focus your attention on the area around your nostril, and then you start to pick up different sensations. And then from there, you scan your body back and forth over and over, every inch of your body. And what this does, it extracts the traumas that you stored throughout your whole lifetime in the form of different sensations. So I could hold my attention over here. It could be tingling, it could be pain, it could be heat, it could be whatever. But that's some trauma I've stored in my body. And you do that over and over again. And it's like a spiritual purification process. So like if you're sending a rocket into space and you need the metal to be 100% pure, the best thing you could do to that metal is run it through magnets, and the magnets would extract the impurities. So you're just doing that on a spiritual level over and over again. And you like throughout the whole thing, you have plenty of breakthroughs. Like I've thought of things I haven't thought about in years. I thought of people, experiences, just things I did wrong, things I did right, just things I've suppressed. And I just let go of that, and you eventually become lighter. And then you close the meditation by storing your energy in the crown chakra, your forehead. And then you wish everyone peace, love, and happiness. And if going back to the vibrational thing, if you're wishing everyone peace, love, and happiness, it turns out people want to support you if you're that mindset. And I noticed like a tangible difference when I came back. Like, for example, when I came back, I started going to the gym again. Like people give me fist bumps, give me high fives. And it was 100% because of that. So now I walk around the world. I wish everyone the best. And from that, it turns out that if I'm wishing them the best, people can pick up on that subconsciously. Like, for example, if I meet you in person and like, let's say I'm trying to get something out of you, you'd be like, something would be pushing me away from you. But it's like, oh, this Jeff guy seems cool. It's good to know. Let's see if I can help him out. Like, so if I meet you with the intention, like, oh, Jeff is awesome. How do I help out Jeff? You're going to match me like, oh, well, Eric is cool too. How do I help out Eric? And that's really the best way to build those relationships too.
Vibing on a higher level, vibing in a different, but did you have some things that really helped you uncover? Is there a therapy that kind of comes in there with it? Somebody that kind of helps guide you through it? Or they're like, hey, this is a plan. This is what you're going to do. We'll see you in 10 days.
So it's kind of trippy. So when I signed up to it, it's like going back to the time at the incubator, someone suggested that to me a while ago. I'm like, well, first, I'm not taking 10 days off. No, it's ridiculous. And then years later, some random guy on Twitter, I talked with some anonymous guys, like, oh, you should try Vipassana. I'm like, okay, this is the second one. And at that point, I'm like, all right, let's do it. When the website signed up, didn't know what I was getting myself into. I'm like, maybe this is a cult, maybe it isn't. So I show up, and then it's taught by this dead guy, which is interesting in that part. But it's like, so the way the course is structured, it's 10 full days of meditation. You have your meditation hall, you have your room, you have a walking path, and you have a dining hall, and it's all silence. And the reason it's all silence is because, like, let's say I break out of meditation after this podcast, I do a good hour one, great. But as soon as I connect back to like my phone, my laptop, my phone call, it's reconnecting to the world. So you cut that off. It's one long meditation practice. So you wake up at 4, meditate for an hour, get breakfast, meditate some more. So you have 3-hour-long meditation sessions where it's called strong determination, which means no moving, but the rest is your free time to either meditate in your room or your hall. And then they close the night with a discourse of what you learned throughout the day by the teacher, and who's dead, which is interesting. So he's been dead for a while, so it's just a video recording, but he's so on point with what you're learning, it's kind of scary. And from a business perspective, because we're always moving it back to entrepreneurship, he was a business magnate in India, so he's a very successful, like a billionaire business guy in India. And so he found the meditation method. It saved his life, so he went to scale it up to the world. So the 10-day course I did, he created the centers, he created the structure for it. Now there's centers all over the world because of him. So he outsourced, like, because in India it'd be like 30, 45 days, and you're just straight like in a meditation silo. In the Western world, that may not fly for a lot of people. So he made an experience that we could all do. And the cool thing is, each retreat is structured like a satellite. So like my retreat center, it's completely free. So they run on donations from previous students. So if I donate because it added value, but if you want to donate, you wouldn't be able to. But if you attend a course, you show up, you have your clothes, you have your toothbrush, they provide the food, they provide the lodging, everything's like clean. It's actually pretty nice. And then after that, you can donate to the center if you want to. And on top of that, it's so well scaled up. If I were to pick you up right, and the servers too, they're past meditators. So like the people who preparing the food, doing everything, it's like that'd be an ex-student like me. So if I were to pick you up right now, just drop you off at the center, like, okay, man, you're doing Dharma service right now. All the directions are just so on point that you would know exactly what to do. And then it also attracts like the type of people who go this thing are very diverse and very interesting. Like I have good friends. One was like his life solace. He does odd jobs and he climbs rocks. That's what he does, and it's what he loves. Another friend is a CEO. He does this whole CEO thing. I met him there too. And I had this other friend. He's like 50 years old. He's past executive at like Facebook, LinkedIn, all that stuff. And now he just does a meditation retreat. He has a friend who the meditation retreat affected him so much. He bought the area next to a center, started going cabbage, and now feeds the center cabbage. So it's like,
that's crazy.
It's an interesting thing, dude.
Yeah. It's neat. And for the folks that are listening, I do, we have a little sensory deprivation area here to where it's a tub, you're floating at float tank, to where you float in water. In the area I'm from, it's, you float salt water, but you're in a little capsule, no phone, all the things, right? And you're there and the water keeps you buoyant, and about 90 minutes is the duration that you're in there for. And what I've learned, and I struggle with this, if you can quieten your mind, the faster you can quiet your mind, and you start focusing, but you help even like thinking about just that little bit of advice you gave, because I struggle. So I'll go in like I am now. We haven't been for 2 months. So I'll go in with 2 months of phone, people in the world, everything, and I have thousands of thoughts racing in my head. And when I shut the door on the little thing and I lay back, those don't go away instantly. But is focusing on those areas of your head, like working through the inches of your body and finding those. That's a really great technique.
No, dude, it comes up to, and so meditation, if you just want to think of it like an email inbox, it's like, imagine, and like you said, your thoughts, like, because when you first start, you're just bombarded with, it's uncomfortable because you're just thinking so much. But just think about if you don't check your email inbox for 10 years, you open the email inbox for the first time in 10 years, you just so much shit. You're just like, what am I supposed to do? And you get overwhelmed. But the power of meditation is it's like you're slowly just opening the email, observing it and letting it go, opening it, observing it, letting it go. So if you do it for consistently long enough, most of the thoughts get addressed and you don't really think about them. And that's where this real sweet spot is, just kind of when you're like zoned out, you're not really thinking about anything. The thoughts that do come, because like when you first start, obviously it's just like a bombardment of thoughts go over and over again. But like if you do it for long enough, for an extended period enough, like they come up sporadically and then you're like, oh, that's that thought. It's my thought, but it's not me. Let it go and just carry on.
That's great. I work with, I do a little with my kids' teams. I love the mental side of games and athletics. And I got to coach our all-star team this year.
Nice. That's fun.
Listen, this was me though. We worked on breath work. Because I'm like, this is all-stars and you're going to compete against the best of the best. I'm like, we worked on breath work and then positive affirmations. And then I was like, what do you think when you go up to hit the ball? And they're like, I just don't want to strike out. And I'm like,
you can't do that because it's wherever your attention goes.
Yeah,
that's where your energy flows. So if I think I don't want to strike out, even though I'm saying I don't want to strike out, I'm still thinking about striking out. I strike out. Whereas if you think about I want to hit a home run, you're thinking about it, you're gonna hit the ball. So
yeah, it's like I was like, we work on box breathing. I'm like, here's what I need you to do. It's like you're not hitting the ball because you get this tunnel vision. So I'm having this lesson with 14, 15-year-old kids. Like, this is how Navy SEALs train, right? This is how high performers is, breath work and 4 seconds. And we worked through all that, and then we went to the words of like, when you step up there, and all of them, I'm afraid to strike now, don't want to be disappoint, or when you go to catch the ball, I'm like, don't want to miss it. I'm like, I want you to start thinking about how you're going to hit the ball. And when the ball's hit to you, like, I'm going to catch this and we'll throw it in, I'm going to get it out. Find the end, because we leaned into those negatives. That's so cool, man. That's, we could probably talk about that stuff all day.
Dude, and that's the best thing about the meditation retreat is like the mind switch. So now all my because like your subconscious runs most of your life. It switched my subconscious, so now like those thoughts happen naturally. So now all my inclination is like usually it's something positive. So that's where you guys focus on what's going right with versus what's going wrong. And if you believe in crafting your own reality in the sense like there's an infinite number of realities that are happening right now, whatever one you're paying attention to, like we're in this reality because we're paying attention to. So if you're paying attention to the negative, you just get more negative, and that's getting more negative. It creates a downward spiral. But if you focus on the positive, then you get more and more positive, then it creates an upward spiral. But yeah, it's great that you're teaching that to kids. Like I doubt they fully understand the lesson now, but it'll pay off for
I
them.
think I'm crazy. Like, like we just want to hit. I mean, why is this guy talking to us about bread? And one of the parents is like, they think they're not, they're having a hard time getting it. I'm like, I watched them fail, right? And here's what I tell their parents. I'm like, I'm one of the, I coach first base when I'm out there, or I'm in the dugout. And I'm like, I get 2 roles. When I'm on first base, I either get to watch them and get to share this moment of them getting this hit, which is a big deal for kids at that age group. And I said, or I'm in the dugout and I watch the defeat as they come back. And like, it's all right here. It's all right here. It's not these. This is doing what it's supposed to do. And you hold your breath and you get, you're free. Some of these kids look like they're ready to pass out because they're holding their breath the whole time. And then even in business owners is like when you're getting ready to go have that hard conversation, is finding a few moments, clear your mind, having those deep breaths, just focus on your breath, a little gratitude for the moment, even if it's a hard conversation, a little gratitude that you're able to participate and life has chosen you to go in here and have this difficult conversation because you're the right one for it. I think it's just good stuff, dude.
Dude, the gratitude thing, I think that's incredibly underrated. This is a nice little hack that I do. But like, if we're going back to the vibrational thing, like the vibration of gratitude is one of the best vibrations to be in. Because if you're thankful for the universe or God or whatever, because honestly, like the fact that I have an arm that works, I can get water right now, my legs work, that puts me at a higher. I mean, not everyone has that, so I'm grateful for that. But because I'm grateful for that, I just get more and more abundance. So it creates more and more abundance. And before, hack that I use before is I have a gratitude journal. So before every meeting, before this podcast, for example, or before anything, it's like, I wrote, I'm grateful I get to go on this podcast, because not everyone just gets to go on random podcasts and talk shit with cool people. And because I went in that, because I could have been 2 ways. It's like, do I really want to go on this podcast? I don't know this guy. Or I can be like, I'm grateful to go on the podcast. It's like, no, I'm grateful to do the podcast. Now we're having a really good podcast.
So folks, if just to give you the backstory here, we connected through a platform, and then Eric sent me a message and said, hey, I want to be on here. And then I look at him, and I don't say no a lot. I say no. But I look at them and I go, oh, this is on Web3, this is on e-commerce. This is really going to help me in my business. But I also know that when I'm doing it, I kind of read the profile, search a person. There's an unknown. And I'm the same way. I'm like, this guy doesn't show up in 5 minutes. I'm giving him 5 minutes. I'm going to hit the road.
I'm the same too.
The uncertainty. And listen, once I get going, I don't think I've had a bad conversation, but I'm a conversation guy. But here's what I'll tell you, folks. We showed up and talked about business and ShopEx and Web3 and technology and Bitcoin and blockchain. And this is where the sweet stuff happens. This when you can find these moments between two people that kind of get the power of the universe, power of meditation, power of breath work, the mental side of what sets all of us back. Oh, it's a good conversation.
Oh, dude, I love it, because I could obviously talk about blockchain and Web3 for a bit, but the thing is, like, the reason I like to go on podcasts specifically is if one person leaves this podcast slightly in a better vibration than they came in, what does it do? It means that they go out into the world and they raise the vibe of those around them and raise the vibe of those around them, and it creates a nice little upward spiral. And just the spirituality and because I think everyone has an inner purpose and an outer purpose. So I think everyone's inner purpose is to raise your own vibration because it raises everyone else's. And your outer purpose is like, okay, how do I use my natural gifts to do this? And just for me, it had me a dating app and a Web3 e-commerce platform. But the main thing is raising my inner purpose, and that's where meditation, that's where all the whole mindset, think of them, that's where the breads. I mean, it's all one thing, but that's where like the content diet, the spirituality, the physicality, the fitness, it all comes in, because that raises my own vibration. And that's the best way I can help people, is to raise my own vibration. And the more I get to share that, like, the better it is.
Found it later in life. I always say this. There's probably been moments where it was presented to me, I just wasn't ready to hear it, right? I'd say this a lot on my podcast. Like, I've had great advice over the years. I just wasn't ready to listen to it. and this was probably one of the breath work we used, in just careers that I had in public safety were high stress, and you were focusing on just trying to control tunnel vision and being able to work through stressful situations. Cop world, you're doing shoot, don't shoot. Right? Just the last thing you want to do is accidentally shoot someone. So you're working. We do a lot of high stress drills, and then you were just controlling your tempo through your breath work. That's where I was first introduced to it. And then as I moved through is working through COVID and being a business owner, an entrepreneur, and owning a gym that was shut down. And just then I really got back to revisiting all the things. And man, it's really just accelerated me as a person. So folks, I don't want you to discount it. It sounds it sounds crazy. It does, but I tell you, man, it is. Enlightening is a word that's easy to use in this, but man, I tell you, it will really help you fulfill a purpose inside of your head. It'll help you fight some negative thoughts, things like you said. You acknowledge it, let it go. And Eric, I am a guy that, I was one of those guys that held on to what I thought was significant mistakes, and I held on to them for way too long instead of acknowledging and saying, "Okay, you screwed up, move on." And now I teach that. I teach my kids that. I teach my clients that. I'm like, hey, it's not the end of the world. That's not you. What'd you learn? Okay, let's move on. And then when you win big in business, hey, maybe you sign a big deal, whatever. Okay, cool. What'd you win or what'd you learn? All right, all right, move on. Acknowledge it, move on, and just keep going.
Yeah, no, because something is like that. Every moment passes. A good moment passes. A good thing will pass. A bad thing will pass, and it's all about your perspective too. It's like a bad thing could happen, but like for example, like a girlfriend could break up with you. Okay, well, girlfriend broke up with you, that sucks in the moment, but that's just preparing the path for your wife, which is a big thing. And the thing about winning too is, and I love that you said winning, it's because you get to decide your own parameters to victory. So like, I think if I leave every situation where I learn something, I'll take that as a W, because again, like in startup world, entrepreneurship world, most of the things you'll do will fail, but the name of the game is quickly optimizing and then moving on and finding the right path. And the more things you try that fail, the better chances you have of finding the right path.
Growth isn't always up. That's what I'm speaking to. Like that's been one of my my speaking topics that I've been using in my motivational space, and I can workshop it as well for business owners. But I teach on them, like you said, there all the failures and all the setbacks and all the things, and then but if you'll just stop and say, all right, what are we learning? What do we? It's this because growth doesn't always go up, man. You're building some serious root structure. You're building your limbs. I mean, it's in your network is growing. All sorts of things that you can learn in every failure, and then in every success as well.
The thing about learning too is, I think we both believe in the universe, like the universe is plan or whatever. But the thing is, if you don't learn the lesson you're supposed to from the universe, it's just going to keep sending you the same lesson. So it's in your best interest to learn the lesson quicker, sooner rather than later, anyways.
Man, Eric, there's a point in time when I was really like I was trying to change. So just my job, my role, my surroundings. I was struggling. Like I was like, and I would make some moves to try to change life, the universe. It is saying, Jeff, you gotta change. This is done. I just kind of kept fighting it, and man, it changed it for me. And it came along and changed it for me, and it put me, it gave me the opportunity to make some changes on my own. But it was all I was stuck in my head. I couldn't I had something I thought was good. I was like, oh, it's just gonna work out. You got to work for everything. And now I learned like it ain't always like that.
Yeah. I mean, the inner, I think, the outer world reflects the inner world too. So just change the inside and the outer world will eventually reflect that. And like, I think obviously I'm not against hard work. I think hard work is extremely important, but it's also about working smart too. And if you're working smart, you're working in your purpose, you're working in your flow. The work it really doesn't feel like work. And then at that point, you just accept the opportunities that come to you.
Yeah. So let's explain, because we're here. I wanted to tell the world a little bit about what Web3 is. I want to learn more about Web3, its applications in e-commerce. It's a new concept, right? And that's why, like, I was doing some research and I understand it. Tell me, what is your vision on how ShopEx will redefine e-commerce, and kind of like what excites you the most about where you see that going?
So the thing that excites me most about Web3 is the ownership and the freedom that comes with it. So what's cool about ShopEx, it has the opportunity to make everyone their own Amazon. and that's through Web3 ownership. So there are three different ways to describe the web. Web 1 versus Web 2 versus Web 3, which, as we know, they're just kind of made up words that people use to describe a certain time period. But Web 1, you can think of it as read only. So in Web 1, you can go online, you can read stuff, which is great because that made us, all of us as a collective, much smarter because information is passed that much quicker. Web 2, the best way to frame that will be with social media. So you can read and you can write, but you don't own. So you can read content. I could write an Instagram post. You can read my post. You can interact with that post. That's great. That's fantastic. The only issue is neither of us own the content. Instagram owns the content. So if we say something in the podcast, we become the competitors, whatever, they could just cancel us and take our content, which is a big issue in my opinion. If like imagine like you're on YouTube, it's your livelihood, you say something wrong and then your channel is just gone and then you can't make a living. That's kind of stupid. And if you look at money as content, which I view money as content too, you say the wrong thing, your bank account's cut off. That's an issue. So Web3 solves that. So in Web3, you can read, you can write, but you can also own the content. And ShopEx is just an e-commerce spin on that. So the vision for owning the content is either cryptocurrency or NFT or RWA technology like that. And so cryptocurrency or RWA is just a connection between a creator and consumer. So if you're an e-commerce brand, you're on Shopify, you want to enter the Web3 space, you can go on, you can download the ShopEx app, and then you can create a connection that's just between you and the consumer. I mean, like you can create an NFT with e-commerce value, being like, okay, you have discounts, early access to products, exclusive products, in real life events, because you have that connection with the consumer and you can keep sending them value your way and they can keep sending them value your way. And the reason that's valuable is it increases your conversions because of ownership. So the customer feels like they're part of the brand because they actually own the product. So then they're more loyal to you. And on the flip side, if the customer wants to sell the NFT, they can do so for a profit. And the same applies for e-commerce products right now. So right now we're in the beginning phase of creating a digital equivalent, a digital one-of-one of real life products. So like, for example, we tokenize a Ferrari supercar or whatever. Now there's a one-of-one product, and theoretically you could, if you like that Ferrari, you could sell that Ferrari on your website. Target could sell that Ferrari on their website. I could sell it on my podcast website. So in theory, everyone creates their own Amazon. So like imagine a world where Nike, Adidas, Lululemon, they all tokenize their products. Nike could sell Lululemon products on the Nike website. The person comes to the Nike product, like, okay, this product is cool. I want this Nike thing, but oh, I like this Lululemon product as well. You purchase both. Lulu gets a sale, Nike gets a commission, customer gets a product, everyone's happy. And what this does long-term is it increases the liquidity of products, of e-commerce products. So if the liquidity increases, it creates a cheaper, more fair ecosystem where people can sell for cheaper because everyone's selling everyone's product. And on top of that, it helps solve a supply chain issue, meaning like if Nike were to tokenize 1 million products, each individual product SKU gets a token equivalent. They could track the product history throughout its whole lifetime. So it could be, okay, product 1 sold once, twice, 3 times, 4 times for X amount of money. They can program in royalties for that. But on the flip side, the customer can use that to track the product history and make sure it's actually from Nike. And if AR, VR becomes more of a real thing, the one-of-one digital connection, it's the best way to do that because like I buy Nike glasses in the real world, my cryptocurrency wallet gets that one-of-one connection, so it gets the digital equivalent. I go to the metaverse or AR in Nike world, I have the glasses, now I can enter the Nike lounge because I have the glasses because I'm a proven customer. Or the flip side, I could buy like Ready Player One, the video game movie, I can buy the thing in real life, I can buy it in the video game land. My cryptocurrency wallet has the one-of-one product. I go to the Nike store and I redeem it. So yeah, that's over the long grand vision. And we're just starting with luxury items just because of the biggest pop. So we're creating we're in the very beginning stages of creating a marketplace where users can purchase luxury items like Birkin bags, Ferraris, Petites, all those fancy watches, mainly because they're expensive and they're hard to get. And that it's a PR simple long term. We want everyone to be able to do it.
Dude, that's how do you? All right, so let's talk to the small business owner. How that has an e-commerce store, and your ShopEx will integrate into their platform. Did I catch that right?
Yeah. So if you're a small business owner and you're selling stuff online, you're likely using one of the 4 major e-commerce platforms: Shopify, WooCommerce, Salesforce Commerce, or BigCommerce. So we integrate with Shopify and WooCommerce. And just like Shopify, just like iPhones have an app store, like you're an iPhone user, you can download the app. Shopify has an app store as well. So just go to the Shopify app store, download the ShopEx app, and then directly within the app, so where you already manage an e-commerce store, you'll be able to launch a NFT token or NFT project. And then since we're already integrated your Shopify store, you can program in benefits like discounts, early access to product, and all that stuff. And once the tokenization platform is live, you'll be able to attach a RWA product to each individual product. So that's one product. So ShopEx is like the Apple Web3 where there's multiple products. So that's ReserveX. So that's NFT powered e-commerce, and that's just a customer loyalty thing. In terms of the tokenization factor, there are two ways to do that. The first is once you get a product, you just attach like a NFC chip, which is microscopic chip technology. The user purchases it, or you right when the product's incepted, you just take out a phone, you scan, you link the NFC chip to RWA, and that creates a connection. So that's one way to do it. Yeah. Or the other way to do it is to integrate that directly in your supply chain, which is like, that's a long-term goal. Like, for example, like a brand's not going to integrate anything directly into supply chain unless there's real value.
Is there any, if someone wants to just go use case, is there anyone that you can mention that's using your technology where someone could go and check out the experience and see what that looks like?
So we're launching the public platform for the RW. So the NFT like customer loyalty thing is live, so they can go to Shopify and check out the app right now. But the tokenization platform, we're launching that very soon. So we're doing a small platform launch with ourselves called MerchX, and we're already sourcing products for that. So if you want to check out MerchX, likely within a month or two, to be honest, if you wanted to purchase a Lamborghini, a Patek, a Rolex, some exclusive luxury items, you can go there and try to purchase the items. You purchase the NFT or you purchase the RWA, and that acts as a voucher for you to receive your product. So it's going to be a mini marketplace for luxury items. And the reason we're waiting, or the reason we're doing it that way, is the cryptocurrency market is about to go full swing. So it's going to be a nice PR stunt for us.
Yeah. And so I want to just kind of help clear this up here. And you said a couple of things that is important to business owners right now. And this is, I talked this a couple of weeks ago, and it's about that experience. And that's where we're moving into. Folks want to belong to, they don't want to just buy your brand. They want to belong to your brand. They want to be a part of your, they want to be a part of your brand because of who you are, what you do, the movement you create, the problems you solve, the coolness, uniqueness, not just because you have stuff. That's where we're starting to see that. And I think you're in that age group of that's helping usher this in, which I think is awesome because I love teaching experience. I love teaching influencer marketing to business owners and how they can be an influencer inside their own business. So it sounds like this technology and where it's heading is really going to help accelerate those experiences. Now, here's what I was going to ask you. I'm smart enough to understand your terms and all those things, right? But it's still very high level. Is this going to be easy for that mom and pop shop small business that wants to keep their products online, that wants to jump into this? What you're creating, is it going to make it an easy button for people to be able to get into this experience?
Yeah, it has to be. Otherwise, it'll likely fail. And that's the biggest issue with cryptocurrency right now. It's like, imagine like sending your mom or dad to like a cryptocurrency or Web3 experience. It just doesn't work. And the reason why crypto is not massively adopted is, first, no real incentive for the average person to enter the space. And B, the user experience is just god awful. So that's why we're doing stuff like integrated with Shopify, and like we're hand holding people on right now. But in the end, for it to be successful, it has to be the push of the button. And the cool thing about cryptocurrency and Web3 is the reason it's going to succeed so much faster than the internet. The reason the internet took so long to succeed is it took a while for the hardware to, everyone needed like a laptop or everyone needed a computer. But for cryptocurrency and Web3, the rails are already there, and it's composable, meaning there's a compound interest nature of software, which essentially means everyone just copy paste code. So once one brand figures out how, like, let's say Nike gets in, well, they're already dipping their toes. They can't send their customer to a janky customer experience, because I think we both know how fickle customers are. Like, they'll try something the buttons where it's like, never purchase for you again. So Nike can't afford to send them through a customer experience like that. They had the resources to figure it out. Once Nike figures out, Adidas has to do that. So it creates a gradually then suddenly move. But yeah, like for Web3 to be successful, like all this stuff has to be done completely in the background. My mom has to be doing all like the RWA, NFT, technology stuff, and she doesn't even need to know that's what's happening, which is easier said than done. Like,
no, that's why I would like, because you're like, there, there's people that still adopting to the internet. I've got folks that are still struggling to get online. But here's where I wanted to take it, just for folks that understands this. And when I teach AI, to help businesses just incorporate even just general chat GPT, but just teaching them AI and how they can use AI to help accelerate their business and how they can not replace their team and how we can amplify more what their team does.
It's AI the thing about AI is like people are always scared it's gonna like wipe out all the jobs and all that stuff. But no, but what AI is, it's really good at pattern recognition, but it's a leverage tool. So for me, I use AI to leverage my natural talents. I'm sure you use AI to leverage your natural talents in your real life, probably this podcast. But that's what the business is going to do. Like if they can use AI to help their employees be more productive, that's where the value is going to really be.
No, you're absolutely right. Like I say, it's like I'm a one person shop, right? And so I use it all the time, and then I teach it for businesses. But here's when I teach it. This is how I open up. I'm like, if you're in this room, you were here when when the internet came. The internet came out in 1960, but you were at least here when we commercialized it, in the late 80s, early 90s. I said, I got to be part of that. Then social media rolled off in, that 05, 04, but then we really commercialized it around 2009 and 10 when they started coming out with pages and all the platforms. And then, so we started doing advertising on Google. So, but then you were here during the inception of social media. And now here you are for the inception of AI. We've had three, you can throw in cell phones in there, just how we move technology with that. Like you're in 3 to 4 significant technology evolutions and something that's revolutionizing how we're doing things. And every time something came out, everyone would say, nah, it's not going to catch. Nah, that's social media. That's just gossip. Nobody's going to spend all their life on that scrolling. It's just crazy. Who would do that? Look at what we do now. So this is why it's important for me and Eric to connect, is because he's somewhere on the very inception of something that's going to be here for a long time. And I think the more that we educate ourselves, learn about and the things that Eric and his team are doing, learn more about Web3, I think it's just going to move. It's going to move your business forward. You'll hear the successful people where you'll hear the term early adopter. Yeah. How were you successful? Well, I was an early adopter of social media marketing, early adopter of the internet. And that's what you're doing with your stuff you're doing with Web3.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. Like we're in the early adopter phase for both Web3 and AI, and they both complement each other either pretty well. So they're both going to be around for a while, so you might as well get on board now.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you'll get them on later. So
tell me real quick about DayDay. And it's an AI. You're using AI to transform matchmaking, which I probably would like to play with it just see if it would match me and my wife, right? But what's the uniqueness of that? Any challenges of blending that technology into something as personal as dating? And then how do you see that kind of evolving?
Yeah, so in terms of dating, it's the first ever AI-powered matchmaking service. And what we do, and I noticed it because the dating apps suck right now. So there are 3 big problems with the dating apps right now. The first is the top 5% of users get access to everyone on the app. If you think of it like a marketplace, that really screws it up. The second is dating apps, they're hot or not. So like, are they good looking? Yes or no? Swipe left, swipe right. And that's no way to actually, there's a low chance of finding an authentic connection there. And the third issue is the most interesting to me. It's incentive based. So like dating apps rely on something called churn marketing, meaning if Tinder were to match a happy couple, that couple theoretically then leaves the app. This results in the loss of a paying customer for Tinder, which isn't good. So that's why their incentive is to keep people downloading the app, deleting the app, downloading the app, deleting the app. So their incentive is kind of screwed up. So what we do is we auto-generate profiles based on the user's digital footprint and then create matches based on other users' digital footprints. So like I could have my 3 matches, Ashley, Kimberly, Jane. Tell me more about Jane. It's like, okay, Jane seems cool. She connected her Facebook. She's the youngest, you're the oldest. Our pattern recognition software says that works well. Oh, she connected her Instagram, and you both go to a bunch of national parks. Oh, that's great. Oh, she connected Spotify, or she connected Apple Music. Oh, you both follow one obscure artist. They have a concert coming up. would you like me to suggest a date with Jane? From that point, Jane sees Eric would like to go on a date with you. She sees an AI generated summary of me. She's like, okay, Eric seems cool. Let's say we go on that date. We fall in love and get married. And from there, it can act as a relationship butler. So I'm like, okay, Eric and Jane, you guys haven't been on a date for 3 months. We recommend the place you had your second date, or this new spot you opened up. You may like it. Would you like me to make reservations? Like, oh, Jane's birthday's coming up. She just added this thing to her Pinterest board. It might make a good gift. So one of the big separators for us is after the match is made, we can act as a relationship butler. And we're planning to build out the software where if you like the date, you schedule and pay for the date, everything with an app, it takes care of everything. We make our money that way. So we're incentivized to get people on real dates faster versus just getting stuck in like an aimless cycle. And long term, that's just dating. Like, it can be a community building app too. It's like, first of all, we meet for the first time. It's like, we're about to go on this podcast. What do Eric and Jeff have in common? Or like, we meet in person, we tap our phones. Like, you guys might want to try this spot here. Or it's like, my cousin, she just started college. Imagine like using that to find like a roommate type of thing. Where it's like there's plenty of ways. Or like, I used to find me 5 guys in my local area into Muay Thai and to meditation. Rare combo, but finds me those guys and we hang out.
I do I teach DISC, personality testing.
Oh yeah.
I could totally, I'll talk with you offline. Like, I could totally see this in a recruitment tool, right? It's this building teams.
Oh yeah.
Is making you, because it reduces friction when you put like-minded individuals together, depending on what the goal is. But dude, that is so cool, because I mean, I don't think it probably helps you get through your crazy impulses, right? Because we've all dealt with crazy, not been crazy, but it really matches you up based on, like when you said Instagram. We just went to West Virginia and the outdoors and all those things, and we all posting that stuff, and it brings in that like-mindedness of interest from each other, and then because we're in this series where our advertising markers on the phone, they know what Mexican restaurant I'm going to. They know that I eat a lot of Mexican food. It's the same thing when it's suggesting those. Man, that's going to be a really cool app, I think. I want to figure out how I can tell my wife I want to be a test subject for you, and be like, all right, sorry, we can't match. I'm actually married. I'm just testing this product for Eric. But we do match, and I would love to get to know you if I wasn't married. So, but we can't do. I'm excited to learn, just to kind of follow that progress. I think that's super cool.
Yeah, no. Once the portion of the app is live, where you can match with someone and link with someone, that'd be fun for you and your wife. Let's see if it actually knows your local area. Where we're at on the project is we're testing it live internally and with friends and family and other founders and stuff. We're planning to launch in Los Angeles around February 14th, so gearing up for that launch.
Oh yeah,
and then we're going city by city, because like if you launch across the United States, it's like, okay, some matches in New York and LA, it's like that's kind of pointless. So we want to go city by city.
Yeah.
So we're setting up that progress, but it's going pretty well. Like, I like playing with the app. It's actually pretty sweet. So it's funny just watching it, because the AI itself is getting smarter and smarter. Where like before it was kind of stupid. You just like, Jesus Christ, can you do anything right? But now it's like it's getting a good summary for me based on my social media, giving me good matches, and it's getting more and more conversational. So it's a good way to bring AI like mainstream, like, because like you said, you bring people, you teach business to use ChatGPT. It's like everyone and their mother in my generation below, they're on dating apps. The reason they're on dating apps is because they're scared of rejection, to be honest. I always advocate for meeting people in person, but if people are scared of rejection, they're likely to get down the app, and this is just another way they can meet someone hopefully special, or not. It's up to them.
Yeah. It changed how we, I've seen you the video. You would subscribe and they would send you a VHS tape, right? They would send you a VHS subscriber. You'd go by there, and then you had they would record it, and you'd go by and you would watch them, and there was a unique number. And sometimes that's where the 900 number where you call in, and that's how they made their money, that's how you made the connection with the other person, it was a toll call. Or you paid for a subscription and you would get the VHS, and like, oh, I'm Jeff. I work here. So that's how they. Found a reel where the guy does it, and I chopped it and did an intro for me where the guy's like, "Hi, and he does this weird thing." But I was showing my kids. I'm like, this is how people used to meet back in the day. And then listen, Eric, personals in the newspaper. Like every Sunday you had a personals that was MFS, male for female, and looking for single wife, in search of single wife. So that's how folks used to meet. I'm dating myself right now.
That's really funny, actually.
And then and then Craigslist came along. We had Craigslist personals, which was just amazing to read in itself, right? You had the misconnections. They banned them. They took them down, but it was some of the best reads. If you were looking to brighten your day, you could always go to the misconnections on Craigslist and find some questionable content. So,
Oh yeah, no Craigslist.
uh,
Craigslist is all. It's always a good rule. Craigslist is a great tool if you're in a startup world and you have no money and you need to
yeah,
get some guerrilla, just random stuff going. You can always Craigslist stuff though. Like for example, we were building an ambassador program. One company is like, we just put out Craigslist ads and they did extremely well in the local area. And it's like, oh, thank you, Craigslist.
yeah.
Underutilized tool.
That's good. I could talk to you all day, man. I could
Oh
geek
yeah,
out with you and talk on the universe. I'm glad we connected.
so me too.
Like I say, you never know, right? I always find so far, man. But this has been a good one. It filled my cup up, and I'm super grateful that that we did connect, and I got to learn more about you and your Web3 projects. And what I'd like is just, if we can, because you got some projects that are kind of in motion. I'd love to just hear maybe after your February launch on your dating app or when you do your ShopEx, because I'm that guy. I love teaching my clients and people that I work with, like, this is something we can bring into your business and this is how we can use it and adopt it early. And so I'd love to just track your progress on that stuff. And then maybe we could revisit and you could talk about where you're at or with your successes or where you're at with your failures or whatever it looks like. So
Yeah, dude. I like talking to you, so I'm super down. Man, if there's anything
yeah,
I can do to help you out, just let's add each other on socials and whatnot, and just
yeah, well, yeah.
we'll keep in touch.
And here's what I'll tell you, man, is folks like what you're doing and how you're revolutionizing business world and how we connect and we're all, I think what we can agree on here is what you're doing is very people focused. And it's to create a better experience. It's try to help us come together in a different manner, but this really utilizing the technology that we have access to. And I think it's super cool to watch that. It's what a just amazing time to be alive, to watch all the inceptions of the things that you're working on. And I appreciate you sharing it with me. And I appreciate you sharing your meditation and the things that you do to make sure that your brain is full of clarity when you approach these projects and how you approach people. And I can't thank you enough for sharing all this with me.
Yeah, man. And dude, thank you for hosting me. I had a blast. Like, hopefully someone got something good out of this and just help
Yeah.
spread some positivity.
How do you want what's the best way for folks to get in touch with you? I'm going to post your ShopEx site, and I've got a couple of those just I've been looking at them myself. Is there a preferred way you want folks to learn about you?
So if you're interested in Web3, ShopEx is the one to go. The dating site is dataing.io. But if you want to reach out personally, Instagram, ERICDMCHUGH is the best place because we can do the voice memo thing.
Yeah, cool, man. All right, brother. Appreciate you, dude. Thank you.
You too, man.